Welcome back to the Weber Cup at Event City in Manchester. In this evening session, Team USA won the first match. All the players in this year's Weber Cup taking part in that game, and what a close finish it was. Stuart Williams winning the first singles match, and it's time for our second of the evening. Over to your commentators then, Cass Edwards and Wayne Boyce.
Well, Cass, there's absolutely no doubt that when we saw the draw for this evening session, the most mouth-watering match of the lot was Jesper Svensson against Parker Bohn III. Experience against the most exciting player around at the moment. Just the 32 years difference between the two players.
The 53-year-old Parker Bohn from New Jersey against the 21-year-old Swede Jesper Svensson, both left-handers. One's a two-hander, Parker being the one-hander. They're both playing down the left-hand side of the lane, and it's the third game that's been played on this lane dressing.
And Svensson has won both of his singles so far, scoring 278 this afternoon against Marshall Kent, 264 to beat Kyle Troop. And both those victories coming against fellow rookies. This is the first time he's faced off one-on-one with a player who has played in the Weber Cup before, albeit only once, Parker Bohn III. But he's been in great form, Cass, and I think it's probably fair to say the two in-form players for each team going head-to-head here.
Well, in singles, Jesper's had a 264 and a 278 and won both games. 80% strike value, an average score of 271. That'll do very nicely, thank you.
Europe with that 4-point advantage overall. He leaves up the 6 and 10.
Yeah, just didn't quite get there with that shot, did he? So that can only be a spare to start with. All I want to say about these two is that Svensson has just won the PBA Tournament of Champions, probably the toughest tournament in the world. And Parker Bohn is a former PBA World Champion. Let's leave those credentials as they are and just enjoy the two bowlers.
A player who's won over 30 PBA titles in his career. If it was all down to experience, then Parker Bohn III would win. But Svensson, such an exciting young player.
Scores an 8 spare, which is worth 18 under the World Bowling Association scoring method, which we're using. Average score for Parker Bohn, 238 with a 50% strike record, which is not great for him.
Yeah, surprising that, because he seems to have been playing better, doesn't he?
He's lost on a 224 and a 223 game, but did win on a 267. And that's a nasty little split from the off for the left-hander. It's the 6 and the 8 pin left standing. As you can see, it's just a fraction high on the hairpin, and that's the only reason it's standing up, but it's a nasty little split, and it could well be an open frame.
Yeah, certainly not the start we expected from these two.
Oh,
what
there
a
you
shot!
go.
What a shot from Parker Bohn III! And saves himself a spare. That's terrific, and it's acknowledged really sportingly as well by Jesper Svensson.
This is the only way to do it. Just hit it light and bounce it across, and away she goes. Great looking shot. Turns 9 pins into 18 because that's a spare. Very important first frame. I wonder what the difference that will be making when we get up to the 9th frame and the 10th frame.
Well, they've both got 18 pins, but in a very different manner. It's almost worth an extra point, that shot, wasn't it? Fabulous stuff from Parker Bohn III. Here's Svensson, though, looking to get on the strike trail. And somehow you didn't think it would be long.
Yes, it's a quite unique style, the left-handed two-hander. Wraps those fingers around the ball. Look at the rotation he gets on that. It just rips the 1-2 pocket, carries everything in sight.
Now, can he build on that terrific save from the first frame? No, he can't. He rings the 7 pin.
Yeah, it's a nice little shot onto the 1-2 for the left-hander. Can't get anything to hit the 7. The 4 pin goes straight round it, leaves it standing. So this can only be a spare. And Svensson will have a lead after the second frame.
Takes it away. And it's 8 spare, 9 spare. Parker Bohn III.
Which means an 11-pin lead for the European player, and he's working on a strike. So he's going to be looking to double up here and shoot another 30 pins.
Ice cool Jesper Svensson. It's frightening to think just how good he could be come the end of his career.
And how long that career will be.
Exactly. No strike this time, or maybe. No.
Nothing for 9.5. Now, I think from what I can see that the pin spotter has knocked. Now that's got to be re-stood up. It's fallen over, it's been swept away. That 6-pin has to be re-stood because the pin spotter machine touched it, so it cannot count.
Well, he's a little unlucky there. It should be 9 spare.
Yeah, just while we're waiting, I was very pleased to see Parker Bohn walk in with his 3 children on the walk-in. Very proud man with his kids all dressed up in Team USA shirts.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Svensson against Baker Bohn for a second.
Team Bohn in the Bohn zone. Called for reinforcements, but fortunately they're sitting in the... there's our man. Just standing that single pin up. It was on its way to fall down, but the pin spotter came down and touched it. And as soon as that machine touches it, the machine's got it. It can't count. It has to be respotted. So Svensson looking for a 9 spare for an extra 19 pins.
Great shot. No mistake from Svensson. Once again keeps his cool. There's a 30-point advantage at the moment. But Bohn III could level it up with a strike here after 3 frames.
Yeah, needs to get on a strike line. String 3 or 4 together. Keep himself in this game.
1-2 from 4 singles matches last year. Parker Bohn III. No strike though.
Didn't quite come off the hand very well, that one. The rotation wasn't right. Overreacted. Nice high backswing, straight follow through. Classic style at the line. Just overreacts a little bit there. There's the 2 and the 4-pin standing. It's a straightforward spare for the left-hander. But it can only be a spare.
Here's that spare. This one, remember, against Martin Larsson was the USA's only point of session 1 yesterday evening.
Yeah, I think there must be a bit of pressure on Parker already. He's gone 3 frames without a strike, so he's kind of thinking, I can't really go 4 or 5 frames without a strike. He's got to get in that 1-2 pocket, carry all 10 pins with a ball that's got plenty of rotation and angle on it. So he's a bit studious at the moment.
It's his 4th singles match. The previous 3 have all been against Martin Larsson, which he lost 2-1, so he's not playing Larsson, but he is playing another Swede here. Lovely shot from Svensson.
Yeah, absolutely great. They got a little bit outside on that line, but it came roaring back and hit the headpin light, hit him thin, made him spin and carried all 10. Carries 30 pins. It just sails out a bit, but doesn't get back to the pocket. Leaves the 5 and the 10, and they're the last 2 to go. But he doesn't care. He's been that lucky. He should be doing the lottery tonight. Pressure time now for Parker Bohn. No strikes in 3 frames. And he's trailing.
He has one now.
Well, I must have heard me. It was a much better shot, and he has carried all 10 in the 4th frame.
Still 12-pin difference after 4.
I was just going to say there's 12 pins difference after 4 frames. Only 3 strikes between them.
300, didn't he? Earlier on against Marshall Kent, Jesper Svensson.
Yeah, he had a 278 game. Really got the crowds going here. Two strikes in a row for the two-handed left-hander. Jesper Svensson from Sweden, and extends his lead. 127 at the halfway mark. You can just see how this man makes strike after strike.
So spectacular to watch as well. Bohn needs another one here.
Oh, just to stay in touch, he needs a second strike in a row, yeah. Oh, he's left that one again. Can you believe it? That's the one, the split that he spared in the first frame. It's left by a ball that's going just a little bit high. It's at the pocket. It's a fraction high on the head pin. It's the 6 and the 8 pin that stand there solid as a rock.
Well, he knows what to do, Cass.
Well, yeah, it's just a matter of doing it again, isn't it? Very, very frustrating for him. Oh,
nearly!
And so close and disappointed. Look at the look on his face. I mean, that almost deserved a spare, but unfortunately, it is an open frame. And he falls further behind. That,
God, so unlucky.
Just ridiculously, isn't it?
Oh. He couldn't have done any more, could he?
No,
in
in fact, he hit it too well. Too fine on that right-hand pin. This is the man that's on a roll. 2 strikes in a row with a big, big lead. 33 pins ahead.
Working on 3 in a row here now. Svensson.
Well, he's the man with all the confidence. Parker Bohn is struggling back there a little bit, I'm afraid. And it's just rubbing salt in the wound now from the European man.
It is just incessant from Jesper Svensson. 3 in a row, 4 from 6. And it's 157.94. And Parker Bohn III really does need a strike here just to stay on the same score sheet.
And you can almost see the panic on his face. A man with years and years experience just needs to get one in there. And he can't get it in that pocket, can he? And he's got a few words to say to fellow teammates and himself. 1 strike out of 6 frames, and he really is struggling on this with 40-foot oiling pattern, but it's the 3rd game that's been played on this lane, and Parker Bohn really just cannot get to grips with it.
Well, every chance this could be going 11-6 here. And remember, that would be a 5-point gap, exactly the same as Europe came into the day with. So after all their hard work, the USA, they're almost going to be back to square one.
Yeah, it was a good spare, but that's not what he needed. The confusing thing for him is that he actually left it on the first shot. He can't get that strike ball working properly. And that's kind of a confused look. Stuart and Martin are very happy. Just checking the scores.
45-point lead. Barring disasters, it's looking good for Svensson and Europe for a 2nd successive point here in the Saturday evening session. Rings the 7 pin.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate. Great looking shot into that the 1-2 pocket for the left-hander. Not exactly spare ball, and just gives it a bit of clean. Bit of a clean. It's got some marks on it from the back end of the lane. Buries his fingers in the ball.
Looks like a giant cue ball, that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. No thumb. Wraps his hands around it. Takes a funny little step to the left, but that's just to get his arm swinging. Takes the spare, very nice too. 19 pins for the 9 spare.
And the scoreboard looking pretty tasty for him. Not so for Parker Bohn III. Let's not look at it. Let's just concentrate on the shot. The American captain.
64 pins ahead at the moment, is it?
Look at that, 176, 112, but Bohn III has this frame to come. Just a one strike so far from his 6 frames. Good shot, make that second strike, takes him to 142.
Yeah, he just dons his hat and checks his watch as well, because he wasn't quite sure how long it's been since he's bowled a strike, but it's his second one of the match. He knows that's not enough, but he's been there before, he's seen it all. He's seen young guns come and go, he's seen people like this, or similar to this, but young Jesper Svensson is really on a roll. 5 strikes out of 7 frames. Sorry, 4 strikes out of 7 frames, and he's been ripping that pocket apart.
Well, there's not too many sports where a 53-year-old could genuinely take on a 21-year-old, but this is one of them. That's the beauty of it. Oh, he's left the 7-10.
Can you believe that? We've seen it earlier before. You hit the pocket so hard, with so much rotation on the ball, it hits the pocket and bounces pins left and right. The 4 pin and the 6 pin, they just lay in front of the 7 and the 10, and nothing happens. A massive split. Well, he's just going to have to take one, I think, settle for the 9 pins and hope that Parker doesn't strike up. Because that would close the gap between them going into the foundation frame. It was a great looking shot, but it's a terrible result for him.
Yeah, he could go 185 here, but then Bohn could be looking at a 172 with a strike in the next frame, and that is within striking distance.
Absolutely, this is the biggest ball of the match for Parker Bohn, and he realises with this scoring system, 1 strike here is worth 30 pins, and as you say, he'll be at 172 and just within 2 pins of striking distance.
How many times today, Cass, have we thought the game was over and then suddenly just one mistake and then a strike the other side has turned it dramatically?
It's an absolute massive difference, and this is a huge shot for Parker. Oh, go,
will it go? Will it go? No.
Oh, just the 9.
He really needed that, the American captain.
Yeah, he could have done with 30 pins there, but a 9 spare here will give him 19. He takes away quite nicely. Now it goes to 161, and it's a 13-pin lead. Okay, it's Jesper Svensson working on an open frame. He's in frame 9, the foundation frame, which means that it's frame 9. He's going to set himself up for the 10th. With traditional scoring systems, you could score more pins in the 10th, so this is kind of setting yourself up.
Lovely shot from Svensson. Well, you can't set yourself up much better than that.
Well, that's the way to do it. That's what the 9th frame is for. Set yourself up for a strike. Finish it big time in the 10th. Goes through the 200 barrier. It's a 215. It's a 245 finish for the Europeans, and Parker's got some work to do.
.221 maximum here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much all over. It is now. Famous phrase or saying.
I was going to say, that's been said before in another commentary box in another sport.
I didn't want to steal it from anybody, but I was around in those days. Yeah, the game is over, unfortunately. Had Parker struck 9th and 10th, it would have only been 221, but the really important strike was for Jesper in the 9th. Big 30 pins, and it's going to be another victory for Team Europe.
That's another singles defeat for Parker Bohn III. Go to the 2 he's lost with Martin Larsson. He won 1 against the Swede in session 1, the American's only point, but he's not enjoying himself against Swedish opponents here, is he, the American captain?
Well, he's potentially got a sub 200 game here if he doesn't strike on his last ball. The crowd is just easing Jesper through it. Finishes with another strike for a massive 245, rubbing salt into the wounds of the American captain, Parker Bohn.
He just loves the Weber Cup, this young Swede. Rookie? What rookie?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, let's help the veteran through this last frame, his last shot. Just the 9, I'm afraid. They'll have to spare it, and it will be a sub 200 game because he can only make 199. And unfortunately will be the lowest game of the whole tournament.
Yeah, the first sub 200. Europe went close in the Baker with 201, just getting across the line. Losing at 205, 201. So this is tough to take for Parker Bohn III and the USA, because having fought back to within 3 games, they find themselves 5 behind, and he misses the spare as well to add insult to injury. And it is a 5-point gap again for the Europeans, and that is a big, big blow, Cass.
It certainly is, yes. Really sets it up for a big finish in the latter part of the tournament.
Well, the USA won the Baker, but it's 2 singles wins in a row for the Europeans. It's Don Barrett against Wes Mallett after the break.